Hello, I'm Noel Outland, and this is News 6. This week, the program was prepared by the students from the 6th grade of McIntosh School from Auburn, Indiana. Stories today include interviews with two members of the community who helped to make Auburn the site of the second largest spectator event in Indiana, as well as classmates with unusual hobbies and how 5 6th graders started a skateboard association. But first, a little bit about the school. The McIntosh School has gone through many changes. In its existence, the name comes from William H. McIntosh, who gave the $10,000 building site. Since its original conception, the school has been built, rebuilt, burnt down, and construction held up by World War I. It has been an academy, a high school, a junior high, and now it's an elementary school. But most exciting is the new part of the school, the outdoor center. Classes from our school use the center to learn about nature, with future plans to use the center in a variety of subjects, such as language arts, which normally aren't done in that type of environment. So far, the 6th graders have planted trees of pine, cedar, beech, and oak, as well as others. And shortly, the 4th graders will be planting gourds at the center. The center was started in 1975, has 4 acres, and is only 5 blocks from the school. Now, with more news from our schools, here's Laura's Cobbs.
Thank you, Noel. There are several students in the 6th grade that have interesting hobbies. Ken Seigel has been collecting bottle caps for about 3 years and has over 5,000 bottle caps with over 220 types. The rarest cap he has is his Sir Edward Stout, and possibly the oldest cap he has is his Pat's Red Bottle Cap. Another collection is Matt Murdoch. He has gathered 441 buttons, which he displays on boards. His display has won an award at a fair last year. The oldest button he has came from the 100th anniversary of a nearby town, and another which celebrates the 50th anniversary of a group of soldiers from the Civil War. But his favorite is the one he got from the Pink Panther show. Just a few days ago, Matt added a new dimension to his collection. He now can make his own buttons. And for the past 3 months, 2 girls, Melanie Deal and Terry Cole, have started a rather unusual hobby. They draw cartoons. They have developed 4 characters named Penelope, Gooseberry, Hiram, and Huckleberry. It takes time to draw each cartoon, and they have 15 done. Though the 2 have not yet displayed their efforts, they plan to do so before the end of the year. Another hobby of a lot of the students at our school is riding a skateboard. Skateboards take a skill and a sense of responsibility, and when we first asked the principal if we could ride them at recess, he said no. But several students in the school said that they would form a club with safety rules and make sure people would follow them. Students were elected for the various grade levels, and these students made up the rules and formed a board of directors. We then painted a skateboard track on the playground and appointed officers such as the president, who makes sure all obey the rules, and a medical officer who looks after those who might fall. And now over to Ken Seigel with news from the community.
Thank you, Laura. The town of Auburn has the distinction of sponsoring the largest spectator event in Indiana, excluding the Indianapolis 500, and that event is the Auburn Cord Duesenberg Festival, held on Labor Day weekend. The Auburn, the Cord, and the Duesenberg were all cars that were built in Auburn. When the factory closed down, the community turned into a museum for these cars. John Anthrop, Eddie Shippey, and Ken Lynch talked to Skip Marchetti, the director of the museum.
How did the museum first get started?
Johnny, the museum started as a community project. The citizens of Auburn, Indiana got together and raised funds to buy this beautiful building and preserve the automobiles that were built here in Auburn, Indiana. Some of the finest classic automobiles that have ever been built were manufactured right here in Auburn.
What were the most popular cars in the museum?
One of the most popular cars in the museum is the Duesenberg, the 1931 Duesenberg. It's sold new for in excess of $20,000. It's worth now more than $200,000.
What's the future plan for the museum?
The future plans for the museum are to become totally self-sufficient, to make the museum an educational process for the visitors, and to be something that the whole community can be proud of.
We want to thank Mr. Marchetti for that information and his time. The festival started small when in 1952 many Auburn, Cord, and Duesenberg owners came to town on Labor Day weekend to get parts for their cars. Later they made this an official parade. This parade is only open to these three makes of cars, and they come from as far away as South Africa to get into it. Close to 90% of the cars entered in the parade are originals. Few are replicas. But for the main event of this festival, here's Shelley LaRowe.
Thank you, Ken. The Labor Day event is also the site of a 3-day auction of cars. The Auburn Collector Car Auction started 6 years ago as a support for the festival. Noel Outland and myself had a chance to talk to Dennis Cruz, who helps to coordinate this project.
Mr. Cruz, how does the auction run?
The auction is a 3-day auction. We have approximately 500 cars entered into the auction, and we have the people competitively bid against each other on the cars until you determine a high price, and then the seller has the option to accept or reject the high price. Therefore, you would have cars sold, and then some of the sellers would retain ownership of the cars. And we run approximately 20 cars per hour through the auction for the 3 days.
Have any unusual things ever happened at the auction?
Yes, we've had some interesting experiences. One of them was when a lady was waving at her friend who was coming into the auction area, and we thought she was bidding on the car, so we sold her the car, and she says, "Oh no, not me, I wasn't bidding." And we said, "Yes, you were waving your hand frantically." And she says, "Oh, I was just waving at my friend." So we had to do that car over again and determine another bidder and another price on that automobile. Another interesting experience was that we had a father and son who were both attending the auction, and they were not sitting together, and they were bidding against each other on a car, and we ended up selling it to the father. And then when the son saw who signed the clerk ticket as a purchaser, you know, he slapped his forehead and said, "Oh no, I was bidding against my father." And another unusual circumstance that happened was that we sold a 1931 gold-plated Cadillac for $100,000 a year and a half ago at the Auburn Collector Car Auction, which was one of the most unusual cars that we have sold. And the highest priced car we've ever sold was a 1933 Duesenberg Model SJ for $228,000.
Future plans include the addition of a flea market and swap meet. There will also be an increase in the number of cars in the auction, with 800 to 900 cars expected this year. This Labor Day weekend event continues to grow with leaps and bounds. But our community is not tied up with the cars that were built here. We are also looking at the future. One far-sighted gentleman, Mr. Charles Eckhart, donated money so that we could have the Auburn Public Library. The library has 30,000 volumes and takes 6 people to run. Outside is an Italian fountain, which Mr. Eckhart had moved here from Pennsylvania. Mr. Eckhart also donated money to the YMCA 280 swimming pool. The Y is the center of activities for members from our school. The students play ping pong, pool, and air hockey, and swim in the Eckhart pool. Now back to Noel.
Well, that's about it from the students and teachers of McIntosh School in Auburn, Indiana. Have a good day.